Okay. Ms. D, could you please state your full name and your job title?
My name is Deatrice Linnell Kennedy, and I'm the Associate Athletic Director for Academic Support for the University of North Florida Athletic Department.
Could you give a brief overview of your education?
I received my undergraduate degree from the University of Georgia. I have a degree in criminal justice and a degree in sociology. I then attended the University of Georgia School of Law, where I received my Juris Doctorate degree, and also I received my Master's of Education at the University of Georgia with a concentration in sport management.
What are the qualifications of an athletic director?
Well, there are lots of different qualifications. In the past, it was having some type of athletic background. As the NCAA and as college athletics has grown, there's become more of a business based, and so a lot of people who may not have had any coaching experience or experience as a student athlete may have come from a more business side. And then there's also the education side, which is where I came to athletics. I was a professor first, a full-time professor first, and started working as a volunteer within academics, athletic academics, and then transitioned into full-time working in academic support. So there are a lot of different ways that you can come, but it kind of depends on what area of athletics you want to work in.
Okay. As far as the day-to-day tasks of your job position, could you give a brief example?
You'll probably hear this from anyone that you talk to in the sports field, that there's no such thing as what a regular day is like. But a typical day could include anything from meeting with student athletes for their weekly meetings, just to go over their classes and how things are going on an academic standpoint, to meeting with recruits, meeting with coaches to discuss their student athletes. As an administrator, I meet with other entities on campus, so I may be meeting with professors or people in IT to help develop programs that will benefit our student athletes. I have administrative meetings with the other administrators to go over the kind of the state of the department. So like I said, there's no typical day in athletics, but it could encompass all of those things. But then there's some days where I may not have any meetings, and my day is basically open to just work on administrative duties and then meet with my athletes and talk to them on a more casual basis and get to know them better.
Do you assist athletes in landing careers with sport organizations?
Well, I do try to do that, but a lot of our student athletes don't necessarily want to work in the sports field. So it's not just helping them get jobs in the sports field, but just helping them whatever their next step is after graduation. So if it's in sports, then yes, we definitely try to utilize our resources to help students get jobs in the sports field. But the truth is, a lot of our student athletes will go into other fields, and so we try to help them in those situations as well. And even our sport management majors, with the environment like it is now, a lot of sport management majors will need to get jobs in fields outside of sports first to get experience before they can actually go into the sports field. So it's more finding opportunities in general than just specifically trying to get them a job in the sports field.
And would you say that that's a part of your job, or do you do it on your own accord?
I see it as a part of our job because we bring our student athletes in. The athletic department or the athletic program that they participate in may be the reason why they choose UNF specifically, but our ultimate goal, and I think the NCAA's ultimate goal, is to graduate student athletes with degrees they can use. And so we can help you, assist you in getting those degrees by, helping you with advising and putting you in the right positions to take the classes that you need. But then I think that if we are telling a student athlete when we recruit them, coming to UNF will be kind of a jumping off point for you to do something else in life, then I feel like that's part of our mission, is to help you with that next step as well. And so even though it may not be part of my job description, it's definitely something that I take as part of my job.
Are you aware of any statistics for graduation rates?
I actually don't have the specific GSR rates that goes through our compliance office, but I know just anecdotally that our student athletes graduate at a much higher rate than I don't want to say the normal student, but the non-student athlete at UNF, and we also have a higher GPA than the non-student athlete at UNF as well, and that's something we're really, really proud of.
So with that being said, would you say that athletes receive a quality education?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. UNF is an awesome educational institution, and I think our student athletes really take advantage of a lot of the opportunities that the university has. We have student athletes that do study abroad. We just had 2 students come back from Spain with study abroad programs. We have a student athlete that is interning with the FBI as part of the criminal justice major, was able to do that, and we now have students doing a lot of different things that they would not be able to do if they didn't get the education that they've received at UNF.
Okay, what challenges do you face as an associate AD of academics?
Well, one of the challenges is that every place wants to have more resources, and so being at a university with limited resources from a monetary standpoint, there's some things like financially we would like to do, like have more tutors or have more dedicated services for our student athletes. But also being at a university this size, it helps us be more creative, and so we really utilize our resources from across campus. So we utilize our Academic Center for Excellence. They work really closely with us with tutoring, with workshops. We allow our student athletes to get study hall credit, which is a mandatory requirement for our student athletes, by going to ACE and by going to some of their workshops. We have a partnership with the library where they house our evening study hall. They also do orientations for our students, help them with resources, researching. And that's not just for our student athletes, that's open to all of our students, but the vast majority of the population, I don't think, recognizes the resources that they have. And with us going out and finding those resources, we put our students in a position where they can take advantage of those. And I think that that can compensate for some of the things that we can't do from a monetary standpoint.
This question is more focused on the sporting side of your job, I would say. Are there any consequences if teams have losing records or graduation rates are too low?
Yes. The NCAA has from a athletic league, if they lose, then just the nature of the business, coaches don't really stay employed that long if they continuously lose and don't have like a reason to explain why. But I'm glad I don't have anything to do with any of that. But from an academic standpoint, there's this thing that the NCAA has called progress towards degree, or the APR rate, which is a rate that we have to maintain eligibility and retain our students, and if they fall below a certain percentage, then that team can be penalized by not being able to compete in postseason or in conference, postseason conference competition and any regionals or nationals. And so that's a really big incentive for our student athletes to do well, because they don't want to put themselves in a position where their team is not going to be able to compete after their regular season. And so that's built into the NCAA. But thankfully, we've not had a situation where our students have been in that penalty. And we try to make sure that that doesn't happen.
So are any of the varsity teams required to have winning seasons?
Required, I think that's more of a coaching, director of athletics business decision. And so you always want to encourage your coaches to have winning seasons, and I think that our athletic director does give coaches, some leeway if they don't automatically start winning. But at the end of the day, their job is to create a winning institution, and so if the coach is not the right fit and they have continuously losing seasons, then there may be a need for a change.
And I realize that UNF is a Division I school, and so in order to be Division I, you have to have at least 14 sports. How many sports does UNF have?
19.
19.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my last question.
Okay.
What would you say is the best way of pursuing a career as an AD?
Like I said, there's so many different ways that you can approach becoming an athletic director. If you want to be the head person that's over, academics, that's like a Coach Moon in this situation at UNF, then one of the things is to have some experience in a lot of the areas that you would oversee. And so a lot of ADs have had, either experience as an associate AD in academics or an associate AD in external affairs, which is more business side, or internal affairs, which is more business side, or external, where it's more facilities and more outreach to the community. So it really just depends on what type of AD you want to be, but getting experience in a lot of the kind of lower level positions where you work your way up is usually the way to go. In recent history, I know Ohio State and some other of the larger schools have hired people that were from the business side because of how big of a business venture college athletics can be. And so sometimes they hire people who may not have had so much experience from a collegiate or athletic level, but have shown that they can be leaders of businesses. And ultimately, college athletics is a business, but from our end, it's a business that also benefits our student athletes in a way that they'll graduate with a degree. But for the employees of the department, it's a business. And so learning all those aspects are ways that you can be a successful AD.
You can state your name.
My name is Carlos Odom. I'm part of men's basketball.
I'm Ari Sapp. I'm part of men's track and field.
Could you get your class status as well?
Oh, I'm a sophomore.
Sophomore.
I'm a senior.
And how much would you say that Miss Kennedy, is involved in like your career as a student athlete?
As many ways as possible. She helps a lot. Come here every Sunday, get good tutoring in. She helps me out so much. Without her, it'd be pretty tough. Pretty tough.
Exactly what he said. She helps in many ways. If I have anything I need to go with my advisors to go deal with, she'll come with me to make sure everything's okay. She'll help me with my schedule. She does a lot.
Are there any other athletic directors that you guys have to talk to, like on a daily basis or weekly basis?
Not necessarily. I just keep up my coaches. We have a certain coach that keeps up with our grades. So for me, sometimes I speak to my coach, Coach Young, every week. I check with him. But other than that, I'm usually checking in with either Miss Kennedy or Miss D or Miss Carey.
Only Miss D. She's in charge of basketball and the track and field, so we go to her most of the time.